Coming up on Network Africa, Nigeria announces burial plans for the late former President Muhammadu Buhari as Vice President Kashim Shettima pays a private condolence visit to the family. African leaders pay tribute to Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari, who dies at the age of 82. Plus, 92-year-old President of Cameroon, Biya, announces plan for an 8th term in office. Hello and welcome to the program this week. I'm Layo Olarinde. Nigeria is mourning its former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away on Sunday in London, the United Kingdom, at the age of 82. The late president's funeral is expected to be in his hometown, Daura, Katsina State, northern Nigeria. Governor of the state, Malam Diko Rada, formally announced the burial arrangements. He revealed earlier today that following consultations with the late president's family and close associates in London, it has been agreed that the remains of the former leader will arrive Katsina tomorrow, Tuesday, July 15, 2025, by 12 noon. His burial is expected to take place in Daura by 2 p.m. on the same day. Well, let's now go to our crew station in the UK for updates on preparations for the repatriation of the remains of late President Muhammadu Buhari. Our London Bureau Chief, Juliana Olayinka, reports.
Well, I'm standing here once again outside the London Clinic in central London, where Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari passed away yesterday afternoon, aged 82, following a prolonged illness. Now, since the news broke, key figures from Nigeria's leadership have now arrived to the British capital. This is, of course, being led by Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima and President Bola Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila. They both landed at Stansted Airport earlier this morning. That is about a couple of hours away from where I am. Now, while they have not yet been officially sighted at the clinic, I am reliably informed that they are in the capital to oversee arrangements surrounding the late president's repatriation and, crucially, to offer personal support to the Buhari family. Now, already this morning, the Vice President has paid a private condolence visit to former First Lady Aisha Buhari. That meeting, I'm told, took place at her London residence, which is not too far from here. This is an important gesture, not just politically, but of course personally, given the Vice President's ties to the family. Now, in terms of next steps, behind the scenes work is ongoing to finalize the paperwork that is required for President Buhari's body to be flown back to Nigeria in a timely manner. Now, sources close to the family have indicated that repatriation could take place in the early hours of tomorrow morning, with arrangements already in motion for the president's final rest in place in Daura, Katsina State. There, the former president will be laid to rest in line with Islamic rites and full state protocol. Meanwhile, global tributes continue to come in. I've seen tweets from the likes of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There was also a tweet by the US mission in Nigeria. There's been several condolence messages left by African leaders. Now, here in London, the focus is very much on ensuring the dignified return of President Buhari's remains, one final journey home from the same city where he spent many months receiving treatment in recent years. Juliana Olayinka reporting for Channels Television News in London.
In the meantime, a former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who incidentally was admitted at the same hospital in London where former President Buhari passed on, said he is saddened by the loss, describing President Buhari as a patriotic Nigerian who will be missed by his former colleagues in the military and his political associates.
Fortunately, we were in the same hospital together, but I have been discharged. So when I heard the news of his passing away, I quickly went there to condole with the family and see what can be done in order to get him ready, to get the corpse ready to be taken home.
Talk to me about the man, your relationship with him, when you met him, your fond memories of him.
Well, my relationship with General Buhari went back to as far back as 1962. We joined the military. He was my senior, and during the unfortunate civil war, we were fighting in the same sector with him. General Buhari is a gentleman who is very quiet, but exceptionally honest. You can trust Buhari with anything on this earth, and he will not betray you. During his tenure as a military officer, you have seen how he has tried to fight corruption, and also he established war against indiscipline in order to make us Nigerians behave the way the civilized world behaves. He introduced the war against indiscipline, and Nigeria was cleaner and more respectful during that tenure. Unfortunately, we lost those values that he tried to inculcate in Nigerians. When he became the democratic president, again, he tried his best to make sure that he fights corruption. Unfortunately, most of the officers, some of the officers who served with him are found wanting. They didn't do as much as is expected of them. So may he rest in peace. Well, certainly his death has been a big blow to Nigeria. President Tinubu has asked the vice president to come so that he can escort the body. This shows you the magnitude that has befallen Nigeria. With the passing away of President Buhari, politics in Nigeria will certainly change. I hope for the better.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has paid a private condolence visit to Mrs. Aisha Buhari and the Buhari family in London. The Vice President had earlier arrived the English capital alongside President Bola Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, and other top Nigerian officials. Vice President Shettima was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, and Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum. President Bola Tinubu has also been mourning the passing of his predecessor, describing late former President Muhammadu Buhari as a core patriot, a soldier, a statesman who served Nigeria with unwavering dedication and whose legacy of service and sacrifice endures. In a statement he personally signed, President Tinubu extended his deepest condolences to the former president's wife, Aisha Buhari, his children, and the entire Buhari family, and all who knew and loved him. In his words, President Tinubu said the former president stood firm through the most turbulent times, leading with quiet strength, profound integrity, and an unshakable belief in Nigeria's potential. He championed discipline in public service, confronted corruption head-on, and placed the country above personal interest at every turn. President Tinubu adds that the federal government will accord President Buhari full state honors befitting his towering contributions to the country, ordering flags to be flown at half-staff as a mark of respect for the departed leader. Well, African leaders and other statesmen have been paying their tributes as well to the man who led Africa's most populous nation, both as a military ruler and a civilian president. Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Yusuf, has described the former president as a pan-Africanist and an advocate for regional integration. Ethiopia's Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, extended his sincere condolences to the family of former President Buhari and also to the people and government of Nigeria. Similarly, Sierra Leone's president and current serving ECOWAS chairman, Julius Maada Bio, also paid tribute to the former Nigerian leader, saying he was deeply saddened to hear about the passing of President Muhammadu Buhari. He lauded the late leader, calling him a steadfast supporter of multilateral cooperation and a tireless champion of peace and stability across Africa. Well, we have a discussion now on the legacies of Nigeria's former president. Joining us now on the program is African Affairs analyst Dr. Okwe Opala. Thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you so much. I'm pleased to be with you.
Well, President Muhammadu Buhari led Nigeria both as a military ruler and a democratic president. How would you describe his overall legacy?
Well, for somebody who has been in the public view for a long time, both as military governor, as commissioner for petroleum and the military administration, as head of state, then chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund, and then a two-time president. I mean, many people will have different opinion about him. But there's an agreement that, look, Buhari maintained disciplined personal life. He was not as flamboyant as most other politicians. People believe that personally he's not corrupt. And he led an austere life, a disciplined life. However, what many doubt, especially in his second coming as a civilian leader, is whether these qualities actually showed in his government. That discipline, that anti-corruption stance, that integrity that people attribute to his personal life may not have shown in the life and the government that he led, especially at the second coming as a civilian president. But nevertheless, there are many beautiful things he did, like he revived rail transportation, he built on what Jonathan left, and that's a legacy that people will leave. He completed second Niger Bridge, but there are also many things that people will remember. So it's a mixed bag of the beautiful and the ugly and even the very bad. People remember also that, look, he made a promise when he came that he will tackle corruption, that he will fight insecurity, and that he will revive the economy. I am sure that even by his own account, by the time he left, I don't think he had made success of any of this. Yes, there may be excuses. And the economy in Nigeria suffered, went into depression. It went into depression two occasions within his 8 years reign. So, but then, nevertheless, Buhari is a stabilizing factor, especially in the West African region. There are many instances where he has intervened to maintain the stability of ECOWAS. When the Yahya Jammeh of Gambia refused to leave after losing the election, Buhari used quiet diplomacy to make sure he exited and democracy was sustained in Gambia. So there are, it's a mixed bag of the good and the not so good. But whatever happens, he has come, he has contributed his part, and many it's for historians to record and say, from wherever angle they want to put it. But one thing is common, his personal life, he maintained discipline, and I'm sure many of his members of his family, his associates, and many Nigerians will miss him.
Indeed, Dr. Okwe. And talking about, his legacy, you've made mention of that. He played a significant role in West African diplomacy. Perhaps could his death, affect Nigeria's influence in the region, especially within ECOWAS?
Well, the ECOWAS Buhari left, not the ECOWAS we have now, because of course we know that three sovereign states in West Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they have exited from ECOWAS and they formed the Alliance of Sahel States. So, I mean, I'm sure that Buhari would have been another person who probably the president will tap on to know whether he can bring back this state with somebody like Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan. These are respected head of states who Buhari, the current president Tinubu, who tap, who asked to go on a diplomatic shuttle to know whether these states will be brought back. So at least now, I think Nigeria lost Buhari, probably Jonathan, who have that kind of clout to bring back some of these states and to hold ECOWAS together. Where the current president is not enjoying so much goodwill, probably the past president who have enjoyed goodwill could step in and help resolve issues. And one of them is gone. So it's likely going to affect. But I think with the presence of Obasanjo and Jonathan, I think there are people who may not be in need of people we may not be lacking people who will play that role.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Okwe, Pan-African Affairs Analyst. Thank you for your time on the program.
It's always my pleasure, but thank you.
Well, let's take a break now. On Network Africa, still to come. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa forms a judicial commission to investigate organized crime allegations made against the police minister. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. In Cameroon, 92-year-old President Paul Biya says he will run for an 8th term in office during elections this October. Mr. Biya, who is the world's oldest head of state, made the announcement on social media, saying he's answering numerous and insistent calls from all regions in the country and the diaspora. According to him, his determination to serve matches the urgency of the nation's challenges. President Biya has been in power for 43 years. His administration has faced criticism over corruption, embezzlement, bad governance and failure to tackle security challenges. There have also been concerns about his health and ability to govern following his absence from the public for more than 6 weeks last year, which led to speculation about his well-being and unfounded rumors that he had passed away. Well, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has formed a judicial commission to investigate organized crime allegations made against the police minister. Well, let's bring you up to speed on more stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced the formation of a judicial commission of inquiry to investigate serious allegations of criminal infiltration within law enforcement and intelligence services, including claims implicating Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. In a national address on Sunday in Cape Town, Ramaphosa confirmed that Minister Mchunu would take a leave of absence with immediate effect while the investigation is underway.
I'm establishing a judicial commission of inquiry that will be chaired by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyisile Madlanga. Justice Madlanga will be assisted by Advocate Sesi Baloyi, Senior Counsel, and Advocate Sandile Kumalo, Senior Counsel. The Commission will investigate allegations relating to the infiltration of law enforcement, intelligence, and associated institutions within the criminal justice system by criminal syndicates.
Angolan citizens rallied in Luanda on Saturday to protest against rise in fuel and transportation prices. Activists marched and chanted while holding placards, showing slogans depicting high cost of living in the country as police officers blocked demonstrators during the rally. The protest is triggered by the government's decision to raise diesel prices from 300 to 400 Angolan kwanzas per litre. Many citizens have accused the government of mismanaging resources, while the majority continue to struggle with poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. Angola, despite being oil-rich, remains heavily dependent on imports and faces rising inflation, with fuel accounting for around 70% of government revenue and 95% of exports. Zimbabwe welcomed medical donations from the United Arab Emirates, with Deputy Minister of Health and Childcare, Dr. Suleiman Kwidini, describing it as a timely boost to the nation's struggling healthcare sector. The minister, accompanied by UAE's ambassador to Zimbabwe, Yassim Mohammed Al-Qasimi, surveyed the large stockpile of supplies stored in Harare warehouse. The 34-ton shipment, valued at over $600,000, includes 74 intensive care units, ventilators, along with other critical medical supplies such as hypodermic syringes and needles. Zimbabwe is grappling with a deepening healthcare crisis as critical medical supplies remain out of reach due to bureaucratic delays and funding constraints.
On July 14 every year, France celebrates its National Day, commonly known in English-speaking countries as Bastille Day. It's the anniversary of the storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, a major event of the French Revolution. Celebrations are held throughout France on that day, including here in Nigeria. Our correspondent Amarachi Ubani reports.
What is a 14 juillet without a party? And for parties like this, the French usually invite friends, associates, with the colors of blue, white and red gaily displayed. In the room tonight at the Lycée Louis Pasteur in Lagos are members of the French consulate in Lagos, fellow diplomats, government officials, and members of the French and Nigerian business community. Amidst the camaraderie and banter going on, guests are treated to an array of French snacks and wine. The evening formally opens with a rendition of the Nigerian and French national anthems. And the French Consul General, Laurent Favier, extols the cordial relations that exist between France and Nigeria, highlighted by President Bola Tinubu's visit in April this year.
Therefore, that's why in the last few years, we have consistently given our full attention to defending and supporting countries against illegal aggressions, to uphold the principles of international order, freedom, independence of the people. Apart from these values and the bonds that are linking Nigeria and France on global issues, our bilateral relationship, which has a long history, significant growth has occurred recently. For example, late 2024, President Tinubu's state visit to France and working visit of a couple of different governors in Paris last April mark the climax of this relationship today.
He also highlighted recent projects that both countries are working on together.
Our economic ties, you know that are very, very flourishing. Nigeria represents 60% of the trade in West Africa with France. And to date, more than 100 companies are operating in Nigeria and employing more than 14,000 Nigerian people. That deserves a round of applause. On the other side, of the continent, we have in Paris, First Bank's presence at the Choose France Summit in Versailles this year. This is another sign of Nigeria's desire to continue to invest in France, following Access Bank, Zenith Bank, or UBS Bank. Congratulations, captains of industry in Nigeria. You chose France and you're right in doing so.
Representing the Lagos State government is the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, who is also highlighting cooperation in agriculture, renewable energy, and cultural diplomacy.
The establishment of the Alliance Française at the Mike Adenuga Center has continued to serve as a vibrant platform for cultural exchange and creative collaboration. In November 2024, Nigeria and France signed a €300 million agreement to boost agriculture, infrastructure, and security. A landmark achievement that promises tangible benefits for our people. Lagos is poised to benefit from these initiatives, particularly in urban mobility and renewable energy. Earlier this year, we also welcomed the French ambassador, from Bastille, to discuss expanding cooperation in agriculture and water transportation, areas critical to our development agenda. I would like to commend the French consul in Lagos and the French ambassador to Nigeria for their unwavering dedication and exemplary efforts in strengthening and sustaining the robust diplomatic relations between France and Nigeria, with particular emphasis on Lagos State.
Some lucky Nigerians win the lottery prize of e-tickets on Air France. That brought events of the evening to a close, leaving guests to catch up on more chit-chat and banter the rest of the evening. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.